So today I'm going to just share my journey and my experience, and I'm going to talk about personal branding, right? And I would say that to a large extent, I used to be with BNI for a very long time, and I was a big follower of Balaji, the way he teach. And one of the most valuable lessons that I learned at BNI is the VCP formula: visibility leads to credibility, leads to profitability, right? And BNI does that very well on in-person platforms like this, right? But social media is nothing but your digital version of yourself, and I think social media can do it in a much more amplified manner because in person mostly the conversations are one-to-one or in smaller groups, whereas in social media it is more amplified at your own convenience and polished. You can edit it and stuff like that, right? So that's where I believe personal branding works. And why personal branding works is, we are always more interested in knowing what Elon Musk is doing than what Tesla or the boring companies do. We are more interested in knowing, about Steve Jobs than about Apple. We are more interested in knowing, Tata. You want to know about the leaders. You want to know about Nitin Kamath and Nikhil Kamath, about their personal stories than about what's going on in Zerodha. That's human, to be able to connect to individuals, and that's where I believe personal branding plays a very important role. If you think about it, all the sharks who came on Shark Tank, they got great visibility. Their brands became really visible because of their personality, right? So with that, I want to talk about the 4 W's and 1 H. The first W being why, and I think Chaitanya beautifully laid out the foundation of purpose, right? Simon Sinek has a fantastic book, Begin with Why, I think, or Start with Why or something. Start with why, right? So always begin with why and ask yourself, why personal branding, right? Why do you want to do personal branding, right? And it's very confusing because we think, how many likes, how many followers, but if you think about why do you want to do personal branding, right? And as an entrepreneur, I think every entrepreneur has to be a creator. There are no two ways about it, because whatever business you are in, your consumer, your customer, your dealers, they want to know what it is that you're doing, and that can lend a lot of credibility to your business. So you need to ask yourself, why are you doing personal branding? It could be to generate leads, to build awareness, or your topic is a tough topic and you might want to communicate and convey that story across. And it could be just for brand building. It could be just to share your story. It could be just, you should really identify what it is that you're doing. I did personal branding, one, because I loved writing. I used to write blogs, but now nobody reads blogs, so I switched to LinkedIn to write long format content, and I'm very comfortable sharing my pictures and putting myself out there and things like that, right? And it worked really well in my favor. But the real reason why I did it is corporate gifting is what I do, okay? And corporate gifting is a very tough business, and mostly there are no large businesses. Most corporate gifting companies are small businesses, and small businesses have an advantage. They can build relationships with the clients better than my sales team can do. Right? And any entrepreneur is any day better than a salesperson, right? And that was a disadvantage to me, because when a client is speaking to a corporate gifting company and they're speaking to an entrepreneur and they're speaking to the salesperson of a good organization, entrepreneur has an edge. He or she can think of their feet. They can be flexible. They can be nimble and things like that. And that was a disadvantage, right? And I had to somehow put myself out there. So I said, okay, I cannot be in front of clients all the time, and I want to be present, I want to be known, and I started email marketing campaigns. So we run emails in our organization. So I have 2 emails, Srikanth@Offineeds and Srikanth.Acharya@Offineeds. Srikanth.Acharya is my marketing email. So anybody who enters into our CRM funnel gets weekly newsletters from me, from personally, and the mails are not promotional in nature. It looks as if I've written to that person, right? And all my customers who are there on our CRM get the feeling that they know Srikanth, right? And everybody tells my sales guys, look, I know your CEO, you better give better prices, so that really works also. And in my email, I cue them back to join, connect on LinkedIn, and where possible, I try to send out connection requests on LinkedIn. And I built a reasonably personal brand. So if you guys are not connected, look me up on LinkedIn. Right now, the network is bad. Do check out my content. I put out good content there. So that's my why. I want to be, I want to put a name to that face, right? When something goes wrong, they can write a message directly to me, and I'm accessible. That was the primary reason. And I had a flair for writing and creating. Way before AI, I used to write. I think for the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, I've been putting, almost every day I put out a post, except maybe Saturday, Sunday. At least like 300 days in a year, I put out a long form content post. I consume the entire 200 characters, 2,400 or whatever characters of LinkedIn, which is there. So, and I was always a LinkedIn guy. I never went to Instagram because I felt Instagram is not where my customers are. It's more consumer, more young, more B2C kind of consumers, and there's a lot of I used to use the word time pass happening on Instagram, and I stayed away from it with very, very little that I used to do on Instagram. So that's the first why. The second W, the first W is why. The second W is where, right? Once you have the clarity on purpose, why do you want to really be doing personal branding on social media? The second question is, where do you want to be doing it, right? You can, there are email and WhatsApp, I would classify it as a social media in this context today. And so I chose LinkedIn is my main game. Email is my main game. I do a little bit of WhatsApp, and then WhatsApp, what I really do is I put up updates, because everybody's on WhatsApp, right? There's this thing called updates, which is like stories, which is there, and you can put up an update there. The trick here is you can see who all has seen those updates. So what you can do is, customers who have not been in touch with you in a long time, if they have seen it, you can just send them a message, hi, how are you doing? It feels like, I was just thinking about you yesterday and you sent me a message, and it's a great excuse to reconnect. So you need to understand the nuances and understand where I want to be present and how. And I recently started experimenting with Instagram. And why Instagram, right? This is a question you should ask yourself, why are you present on this particular platform? Now for 2026, we have the goal of, we are starting a program called Reignite, where we intend to partner with women who've taken a career break and teach them how they can become certified corporate gifting professionals and show them a path to be able to gain financial freedom and things like that. And if I want to be talking to that audience, I felt Instagram is the place to be. So I started putting out content that I understand, I am familiar with entrepreneurship. So I have I'll come to that. But I started putting content out on Instagram. So that's the second W, which is where. Where do you want to be present? I chose Instagram, LinkedIn, email are my top priorities. And WhatsApp and LinkedIn, WhatsApp and Instagram are the other two platforms which I'm present. I'm not much on YouTube, Facebook very, very little, and the other Twitter and all those kind of things. I don't Snapchat and all those things I don't understand. But you should know that these are all platforms which exist depending on who your consumers are. Then the third W would be what, right? What do you want to be communicating? That depends again on who are you trying to communicate with, and what do they really want? What are they on this platform for? And the behavior on LinkedIn is very, very different from behavior on Instagram. Because if you think about it, you are probably looking through LinkedIn when you are like dressed for office, right? You're in the mindset of office or work or something, and you want some motivation. You want to know where somebody got a job, what is happening in their career, and that kind of stuff, right? So the kind of content that gets consumed on LinkedIn is very, very different. I've tried all formats. For me, videos don't work on LinkedIn. Carousels don't work on LinkedIn. If I just put a post without a picture, it doesn't work on LinkedIn. If I put a post with a picture of something little generic, it doesn't work. What my golden formula is long form post with a picture of me doing something. That is what works best. So, I have just too many pictures of myself on LinkedIn, but it works. That's why it's there. I don't think I'm too good looking or anything. That's not the real reason, right? So, what do you want to be putting about? You need to think about what does the audience want to listen to. So my content buckets, in that sense, the topic buckets that I talk about are, I want to talk about corporate gifting, but the reality is nobody wants to listen about corporate gifting, right? So my 10 to 15% of my posts are about corporate gifting, and I know they don't get so much engagement. The remaining 85% are about entrepreneurship, it's about team building, it's about marketing, digital marketing, and the new forms of marketing, and AI. These are my broad topics, and on weekends I sprinkle it with a little bit of fitness and travel and food and those kind of things. And so that's the topic buckets which I use. Now on Instagram, I use the exact same topic buckets. I'm trying to add a little bit of more women-oriented content, right? About how women are super moms and something like that, right? So that's the what. What are you putting it out, right? And what form? In Instagram, people are really, how are people watching Instagram, you're probably lying on your sofa with your feet up in the air, and or you're sitting in the loo and watching it. So it's that snackable kind of content. People don't want motivation. They want quick. In the first 3 seconds, what you say matters. The hook, like I spend 80% of my energy deciding what hook to create, right? So it has to be something scroll stopping. You have to. So it's the nature of that particular platform. You have to respect that platform which it is and work in that way, right? And I use AI extensively. So I'm just jumping topics. How is in the end, I'll come to how. So that's about what are you going to be sharing, and definitely keep looking at metrics. Look, end of the day, there is a purpose why you are on this platform, right? Whether it is brand building, visibility, lead generation, whatever it is. Identify that metric, keep looking at that metric, and keep fine tuning. Number of followers and number of likes is not the metric, right? It's not the north metric which you should be looking at. There should be, if it's brand building on LinkedIn, it's comments, right? If it is brand building on Instagram, it is shares. Right? If people are sharing it, so you need to do your CTA. It's like share this with someone who needs to know this today, or share this with your best friend so that something like that. So shares is the thing. Or you can, if you want to generate leads on Instagram, a great way to generate leads is leave a comment with this particular word, and I will DM you a particular report or something like that. Right? There are tools to be able to automate this particular thing. How can you generate? So you need to know what it is that I'm trying to achieve. What does my audience want? And the last one is when. Right, so each platform has their own preferred timing. Like Instagram, generally people don't sleep; they just scroll on Instagram. Looks like, but so usually Friday nights, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock night, 11 o'clock, I put posts and these things really take off. LinkedIn, Saturday, Sunday just doesn't work unless it is very personal content, right? So LinkedIn is mostly mornings. My preferred time is like 7:30, 8 a.m. in the morning. Monday, somehow Tuesdays, Wednesdays work best. So you need to try out your own platform, your own timing, so that matters. And there are plenty of tools which will help you with that also. I don't use any of those tools except for scheduling. I don't use any tools, right? And the last one and the most important, and I think what you'll really be interested in knowing how to do it by spending minimal amount of time, right? And I think important caution is don't get too carried away by what's happening on social media. People will come and tell you, hey, I want a selfie with you. It can happen sometimes, but remember the why. Why are you really here, right? Two of my reels went viral, and I think one got some 3 million views, 2.5, 3 million views, another got 1.5 million views or something like that, and that helped me increase my followers and stuff like that. And that opened up a lot of doors, right? But if you think about it, those have very little to do. The first one was I created about a company in Chennai which makes sustainable plywood alternative, right? It had nothing to do with my business. On hindsight, I should have put a CTA saying, hey, in case you're looking for sustainable corporate gifting ideas, DM me, right? I will be doing that going forward, right? Another one was about Zoho Schools, which I know. What was the other one? I think Zoho Schools, yeah. I wrote about Zoho Schools. That one went viral. So don't get carried away by what you call vanity metrics, right? How many likes, how many followers you have. These are all byproducts, right? What did you call it? Pleasant byproducts or something like that, right? Good byproducts to have, but that's not the main reason why you are there, right? So the how is, my formula is like this. I use AI, I use custom GPT. So I'll tell you how I use custom GPT, okay? And it takes a little bit of discipline. Generally, I spend like 3, 4, 5 hours, 2 to 3 hours per week, and it took me some time to get there. So I've created custom GPTs, okay? In case you don't know what custom GPT is, maybe later I'll explain it to you. You can create your own custom GPTs. I've created custom GPT for creating LinkedIn post, one separate one, another one for writing Instagram scripts, yeah, right? Video reel script or whatever. And I do I mean, like this can be a topic. So someday, maybe a couple of weeks later, you might see a reel about my experience coming and speaking here. So I share, I'm very curious. I keep reading a lot of topics, and I have a place where I make note of any topics that are of interest to me. And then what I do is I've written a GPT which says where I'll share the idea, and I want the GPT to give me 3 angles for this post and the flow for these angles, and also rate itself saying which post is going to be better and why. Right? So I'll say, for example, I was here Liberated enterprise creators, and this is about like this. My experience was like this. Give me 3 angles. It'll give me 3 angles, and it'll say this angle is probably 4.5 out of 5. This is 4.7 out of 5. This is 5 out of 5. And then I might say, okay, this is good. Just go with it. Give me the post. Or I might say, no, I like angle 1 and 2. Merge these things and give my comment. So I created a custom GPT like that. Then I take it, I put a picture of myself with it, and I schedule it. Usually I try to schedule it once every 2-3 days like that. And then the rest of the week I try to spend replying to comments. On LinkedIn, I actively reply to comments. Very similar format I do on Instagram also, but on Instagram I partnered with one particular guy who helps me create a. So, any of you seen my reels? No, nobody. Very good. Okay. So, one hand. Thank you so much, even if that's not real. Okay. So, the reels, you should watch those reels. Very few, one or two reels are actually recorded. The rest are all AI generated. What I've done is I've created my avatar on a platform called Hagen. On a platform called 11 Labs, I've trained my voice, and I use this custom GPT to create the script. Then you can feed the script into it, and you can put all of these together and let AI do its magic. And the editing is manual. I've contracted an editor who will do all the editing. There's like tricks which you can do in editing to make the reels more watchable, more snackable, to increase the amount of time that people spend on watching these reels and everything. And it gets published. So I don't, beyond the idea is my only input which I give to it. The rest is all custom, is all created there, right? Similar work format I follow on email, and you can follow pretty much on any particular platform that you want to. I think the most important thing that is required if you want to build a personal brand is starting with a why and making sure you have a system to do it consistently, right? So as an entrepreneur, it's expensive to do this when you build it through a system, and it can be depending on where you are and stuff like that, right? But if you get the ROI, it is totally worth it. So that discipline and that system is the magic. There's no other magic, right? You have to have that system which you keep doing it consistently and know why you're doing it, right? Thank you so much. Thanks very much for your time. I hope that was some value.